Hello everyone, my name is Zaheen Nanji and welcome to the first episode of the Resilience Reflex. This is only the first episode and I am excited that we're able to air this with a special guest. And like I said before, you must be wondering, what is the Resilience Reflex? Well, the Resilience Reflex is where I help you build your resilience muscle so that it becomes your first reflex using my three-step system. And if you want to know more about that, then you can go on my website, zaheennanji.com, and it's right there. And I also encourage you to join my community, the Resilience Reflex community on Google+, where I'll be sharing with you as we go along the three-step system and more information. So with me here today, oh, and by the way, I want to make sure that you know that every month we air the Resilience Reflex show the first and last Sunday of every month. So the first and last Sunday of every month at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the next show is when? Well, Sunday, March 29th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And there we'll have Terry Wildman, who is an entrepreneur, but she's an attractionpreneur, and she'll be talking about zapping the stress and how you can do that. Very excited to hear her out as well. And with me today and more people joining us. So Kathy, if you want to come on and let us know who you are, what made you join the show as an expert. Of course I asked you, but what really intrigued you about it, and yeah, what do you think about it, and tell us all about you.
Okay. Thank you for having me, first of all, on the show, Zaheen. It's quite an honor to be on your show, especially the first one. And I am a registered holistic nutritionist. I'm also a health and wellness coach. And in my practice of coaching clients, I also work with clients on how to, obviously, use food to make them more healthier, but we also do a lot of tools and techniques to release emotional issues, things that are bothering them in their lives. And you will find out a lot of times it's not nutritional things that are the problem in their lives. It's emotional issues
Yes.
that have been bothering them for a long time, and they're just appearing as imbalances or diseases. So I appreciate what you are doing with your program because it's very much in harmony with what I do with my clients, with releasing and reaffirming and
Resolving.
things like that. Resolving, yes.
Yeah.
Coming to a resolve with their issues.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Kathy, for agreeing to be my expert and being on the panel for the next shows that I'm going to air. So I know that all the viewers are excited about today's guest, and she is on today. Kelly, welcome.
Welcome. Hi. How are
Hi.
you?
Good, and you?
Good.
Well, I have to tell my viewers that we've hardly had the time to chat, but we kind of talk on Facebook, and I've been following you since I knew you, on Facebook. And by the way, the all the stuff and all the artwork that you've been putting on there for the last week have been amazing. And I heard that you're going to an online gallery with all your art.
Well, thank you. It's been kind of crazy, and I'll tell you a little more about the story when you want me to. But yeah, it's been really awesome to see all of a sudden this whole outpour of creative energy. I knew it, but just didn't know how to get it out. So it's been really quite awesome to see it all come out.
Wow, you are so talented, girl. But
thank you.
What I wanted to really talk to you about is I did read your book, No Risk, No Rewards. And before we go into that, I do want to introduce you to the viewers. So Kelly is a burn survivor. Since the age of 2, she has struggled with her self-worth and confidence after receiving burns to most of her body. Kelly found a way to go from near death to success, from ugly scar-faced girl to the top 10 most influential speakers. Fierce Woman of the Year 2010. I love that title, by the way, Fierce Woman. And best-selling author 3 times, and the recipient of Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. Wow. That alone is, you just have to ask yourself, how? How did Kelly, a burn survivor, go from feeling constantly rejected, constantly trying to ask herself, why me, to what she is today? You just want to find out, and that to me is true resilience. And Kelly, I know with you, you had the scars, and with me, my story is where that, yeah, I didn't have the scars, but I stuttered, so mine was more hidden. And there are times that I still stutter, but it doesn't have the emotional charge that it used to have. I could never speak like the way I'm speaking to you today. So I can understand that, but still, just going through your book and not even being able to imagine that at the age of 2, when you went through the incident, and I can still kind of imagine all the stuff that you wrote in your book, where you went to the hospital, you were rushed, and your mom couldn't see you for days, and I can just imagine the pain you and your whole family were going through. So my question to you is, at that age, and going to the hospital and staying in the hospital for so long, and then after that going on again and again, how did you handle the pain day to day?
How did I handle the pain?
Yeah.
Lots of painkillers.
Yes.
I had painkillers. I believe it was about hope. And it was about that never quitting and that never, giving up. But ultimately, I believe it was about hope that one day it would be beautiful. I always remember that, maybe this time they can, take the scars away, and maybe this time I will be beautiful. And, it was just something that I didn't really have any options as far as I was concerned. The whole idea was that we were doing all these surgeries so that I could get better, and so I would have more mobility and more function. And so, every operation was supposed to be an improvement. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. And, the devastating part was that I still remember my last doctor's appointment, and I was about 18 years old at that time. And what would happen is every 2 years, my doctor would make me get naked. And I would have to, I'd have to get naked in his room, and then he would discuss what we were going to do next, because my body is 75% covered in scars. So my whole chest is covered, my back, my face, both my arms, my legs, everything is covered. And the only place that I did have good skin was my tummy, because I was wearing a wet diaper when I got burnt. And so the diaper is what saved my life. So anyways, I still remember that very last doctor's appointment, and I was hoping that, this time we could do something that would take my scars away and make me beautiful, because I remember praying to God when I was about 16, and I remember saying, "Dear God, please don't make me wake up in the morning. But if I have to, can I at least be scarless so I can be pretty like all the other girls? Thank you, amen." And of course, I still woke up in the morning, and of course, I still had the ugly scars, and I still had to go to school. So then when I had that last doctor's appointment, and he says to me, "I'm done. There's nothing else.
Wow.
There's no other surgery that's going to take your scars away and make you beautiful." And I remember being all choked, because as far as I was concerned, I still had, he wasn't done as far as I was concerned. There was still skin on my body that he could use to, get rid of some of these scars. And why can't you take the skin from my legs like one more time and, try and get rid of some more scars? And the thing was, we didn't want to chance it, because the last time we had done that, my leg had reacted, and, and it didn't work. So it was like, he didn't want to try anything more, because there was a chance it might not work. And I remember looking at my mom, and I remember choking back the tears and thinking, I'm never going to be beautiful. And who's going to love this? Who's going to love someone who's covered in all these ugly scars? I still didn't have my first kiss. None of the boys wanted to be my boyfriend. I mean, can you imagine being a teenager and still not having your first kiss at 18? And I just believed I would never, ever be loved. And so it was devastating for me, and especially because I had already prayed to God many times, and God didn't take my scars away. And, the doctor couldn't take my scars away. And my mom even took me to another plastic surgeon to see if he could do anything. No, your doctor did the best he could. So it was really challenging. But, I knew at 18 that there was a purpose. There was a reason I got burnt. And my grandpa, he felt tremendous guilt, because it was, as far as he was concerned, it was his fault that I got burnt, because we lived on the farm, and he told my cousin to burn the shingles from the barn roof. And I happened to walk by, and a spark landed on my dress, and poof, away I went. But my grandpa told me a story, and he said, Kelly, says, when you got burnt, I was so scared and hurt and upset. And he said, and I went to the pastor of the church, and the pastor said, there's a reason she's living, and she is going to live. There's a purpose. This girl, this baby, has a purpose in this world. And it wasn't until I was in my 40s when I realized that my purpose is to inspire other women and teenagers, and men too, to love their imperfect bodies. That's my purpose.
Right.
And if I can learn how to love myself, even with all these ugly scars on my body, then there isn't a woman in this world who shouldn't be able to love themselves too.
So Kelly, what I want to do is just explain to the viewers what I have heard as well when it comes to building the resilience muscle. And Kathy, who is our panel here, she will help me through it too. So the first thing that I heard was that how you got burned and you were in the hospital. And so Kathy, I heard a couple of things that she used when I speak about release when it comes to my 3-step system. And I heard a couple of things. I heard some words that she talked about, and I heard that she prayed to God. Right, Kathy?
That's right. Yes, many times.
Yes, and so you agree when she said hope, that I had hope in me, and hope is a feeling, but feeling and emotion is different. It was there, but at the same time, you had faith in God, that God would be there for you, and the words that you used to get there. And so I say that words are so important when you want to release yourself from a problem. You have to change your words. And then you went on to say that, yeah, things that you had gone to your doctor until you went to the age of 18, and then you thought, now what? It's done? It can't be done. I still have these scars. And then again, you came to a point where you said that your grandpa went to the pastor. And in all that, I kind of heard that you reprogrammed yourself. And that's the next step when it comes to building resilience. And so, Kathy, did you hear what she said about reprogramming, where she decided, where Kelly thought that she had a purpose, correct? Kathy?
Correct. Yes.
Did I miss anything that you heard that I may not have taken up?
I just have a question for Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, you bet.
Kelly, at that point, when you were 18 and you heard the doctor say, this is it, was that though when you started to have the hope, have the acceptance, and wanted to reprogram yourself and your life? Or did that come later for you, as you were saying, in your 40s?
No, it came later for me. And
Okay.
what happened to me when I was older, probably, in my 40s, is we went to a garage sale. Me and he's now my ex-husband. But what happened, we went to a garage sale, and a lady says to me, they couldn't do better than that.
Ooh.
Oh, I know, and I was shocked. And ultimately, I know what she meant. She meant, why, with today's medical technology, why couldn't they do some magic surgery on you, take all your scars away, and then you'd be beautiful? That's what she meant. But it hurt. It hurt me, and I was devastated because I was like, you know what? She doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know what I went through. She doesn't know that I got burnt when I was 2 years old. She doesn't know that I had surgeries every 2 years. She doesn't know about the surgery where they took my arm was joined to my body, and they had to splice my arm away from my body and put skin under there. She doesn't know about the time that they took skin from both sides of one leg, and they took that skin and put underneath both of my breasts, and they used 1,000 staples to stitch me up. She doesn't know what I looked like when I was 2 years old, when I was 20 years old, when I was 30, and when I was 40. And yet I was willing to let her take my power away. And I thought, why? Why am I letting a complete stranger take my power away and make me feel ugly? And I thought, you know what? Not once have my kids or my family or my friends ever said, Kel or Mom, we would love you more if you were scarless. Not once. And that was my turning point. And that was when I decided that I was not going to let a stranger's opinions affect me. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that people are so concerned about what other people are going to think of them, and that they use that to harm themselves, right? Like, we are so stuck that we have to have a perfect body and a perfect hair and the perfect face and and it's like, seriously, like, I feel beautiful the way I am. Why do I need to allow somebody to affect me that way? And what happened is, when I shifted and realized that the people who counted most in my life were the ones who I should, be connected with and, be more concerned with, I think that is what also made me resilient. That is what made me go through that whole process and realize that she didn't count in my world, and she didn't have to count in my world. And so I believe that that's, one of the things that I did as a teenager when I was growing up, is I realized that, my family and my support system helped me get through it.
You know what? That's so true, because that is one of the traits of resilient individuals, is they have a great support system. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Kelly. And so throughout your life, you had your family. And then even now, you have great friends, and I know that you've got a great support system around you. You've got your kids, and again, you've got your whole family. So that is amazing that you brought that up. But what I wanted to point out is, when you were saying things like that, how the lady, you didn't want her to take the power away from you, and you started to think, that is reprogramming, where you really reframed your thoughts. And I like the way you reframed them. So it's when you say that how other people around you did not look at you as um, or did not question you or did not question your worth, and you love yourself the way you are. How would you explain that to someone else who doesn't feel that way, who feels that they're still not worth it? And we go through, there's so many women out there. What advice do you give them about that?
So this is basically I went through a whole another transformation last year, and I was really having a challenging time with my life. And anything and everything that could go wrong happened. And I ended up hiring a coach to work with me. And she said to me, Kelly, why don't you value yourself? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't value myself. I'm a speaker. I share my story. You know, I teach people how to love their beauty, and I talk to teens. I write books. And what do you mean I don't value myself? I mean, I am valuable. I know it. She goes, no, you don't. She said, you don't charge enough money. You have let your husband beat you. You have, you have done things that aren't, that are self-sabotaging yourself. You're not making enough, like you're not charging enough money for things. And she said, you don't value you. And she says, I think the reason you don't value yourself is because you didn't reach your financial goals this year. And I was like, you're right. Because I had set a really high goal and I hadn't made it. And she's like, your value is not in how much money that you make or don't make. And she says, your value is in something else and you need to discover that. And I got thinking about it and I thought, okay, if value is not money, what is value? And I started to think about, how someone who works at McDonald's, like, an adult woman that's working at McDonald's making $5 an hour, she doesn't feel like she's as valuable as the mom who is a lawyer who's making $500 an hour. She thinks she's not very valuable because she's not making as much money. But what I realized is that it's not in your money. It's in the acts of service you provide. So, for example, what happened was I started to think about some of the things I do. So, for example, my book that you read, No Risk, No Rewards, when I went to Africa a couple years ago, they held an event for 150 teenage girls. And these girls were in the slums, in the Kibera slum in Kenya. And these girls are chanting, I am me, the best me I can be. And I wasn't quite paying attention, but I heard it. So I looked over and I see the organizer who's got my book in her hand, and she is saying, okay, girls, repeat after me. I am me, the best me I can be. And I was like, and I hear the girls chanting it back, and I was like, oh my gosh. My book, which is comprised of all my thoughts that were in my head, is in Africa being used to teach teenage girls about self-esteem.
Wow.
And that is my value. My value is that when I get up and I speak and share my story of how you can be beautiful even though you have scars on your body, and I am inspiring teenagers to feel great about themselves, and then they feel great and they go and they live and it makes them want to live so that they don't want to commit suicide, that's my value, right? And I mean, even like the stay-at-home mom who is looking after someone's kids, her value is that, the other parent now gets to go to work. And because that parent can go to work, she can provide food and shelter and clothing for her children. And then she can be happy because she can make a paycheck. That's our value.
So I think what you're trying to say too is that you need to know your why. And your why, which is the value that you hold, keeps you going and makes you more and more resilient about getting to where you want to be. Is that what I'm...
Absolutely. I can't do anything without a why. And so my why is, when I spoke to about 150 teenagers a couple years ago, what happened was I allow people to text me while I'm speaking. And the reason I do that is because then it gives people an anonymous and a safe way to ask me questions without being that fear of being judged by the rest of the group. And so what happened is when I allowed these teenagers to text me, I got 150 text messages in 1 hour. 5 of them were about suicide. I never would have talked about suicide if I didn't know that so many teenagers were being affected by it. And so that became my mission, was that my why was that when I was in bed in the morning and I was debating whether I wanted to get up or just stay in bed, I would think, what if you could help one more teenager live one more day? Do you
Kathy,
think that you have value? And then when I thought that, it was like, oh my God, I have to get up. I have to go and help some teenager live one more day. And that's why I would get up and do whatever it is that I wanted to do for that day.
Let me ask you this, Kelly. You once were a teenager, and of course, I know in your book you talk about how you went to school and you haven't been kissed and you didn't have a guy and you felt like how you always wanted to have someone and be kissed. Did you ever feel like committing suicide?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's been times when I've had those thoughts and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I mean, there was times when I had those thoughts. I mean, even last year when I was doing my own transformation, and one of the things that happened to me was that one of my friends committed suicide. And she only had one arm. And, when her and I went to school together, we've known each other since we were like grade 2. And I was like, why? And then I thought, like I get it. I totally understand why she did it. But then I thought, why didn't I do it? And really, all I have to do is think about my kids and my 3 little kids who, if I wasn't around, they'd be crying. It would affect them.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never do that to my kids. I mean, they need their mom. I need them. And I think one of the messages that I tell people is that death is final. It's final. And there's no more texting your best friend anymore. There's no more going long walks in the park. There's no more, going to your favorite concert. There's no more sleepovers. There's no more anything good. You don't get rid of all the bad stuff and then just keep the good stuff. Your life is over. And not only that, here's the part that really hurts. Eventually, they will forget you, or they will want to forget you, because the pain that you cause in their heart is going to be too great. And they don't want to remember you anymore because the pain is so bad. And so I think about that, and I think about my kids. My kids are too young to have to go through that kind of pain. And that keeps me moving forward because, hearing my kids say I love you is amazing. So it keeps me alive.
Yeah. Kathy, do you have any questions or any comments for Kelly? We're almost, time's flown by so quick.
It does. I just want to say, actually, Kelly, both you and Zaheen are very much an inspiration. And, you're talking about success or value being monetary, but I think, yes, of course, that's important in our society, but it's so much more important to have your self-worth and your dignity, and, as you say, value yourself for who you are and what you do and what you give to the world. And we place far too much value. If you ask somebody, are you successful? Everybody thinks about that in financial terms. And, yes, of course, that's important, but it's so much more important the value that you give back to other people in this world and the value you place on yourself. And if you love yourself and love other people, then you're successful.
And you're totally right, Kathleen. And that is something that one of the reasons that I was so excited about going to Africa, because I spent 4 days in London. And when I was in London, I just wanted more. I wanted a better house. I wanted a better car. I wanted to make more money. I wanted better clothes and better everything. And then when I got on that plane and went to Africa, and I saw how some of those people live, I was like, what's wrong with what I have? There's nothing wrong with what I have. I have more than enough. And that's, I know where I'm going to be able to make money. I know what to do and where I'm going to get food. And, these kids, they live hand to mouth. So they see a piece of food, they eat it. They don't get to save it, and then eat it later. So you're right. I mean, value, when I did that exercise, because not only did I think about Africa, I thought about all the other things that I had done, like teaching people how to write books. I'm inspiring people to write books so that they can go and inspire others. That's where value is. And yeah, I am valuable. And that was an amazing exercise that my coach gave me to do, because I realized I am valuable. And and that's why it's so important for us to be resilient, so that we can keep accomplishing our goals and accomplish our dreams and our intentions, so that we can succeed. And you're right, success isn't about money. It's about the feeling you get inside that says, I've done amazing, I've done well.
I like the way that you really ended that too, is that resilient is not about giving up either. It's just about getting unstuck from a problem and moving forward and knowing that there's hope. And I like the words that you used before, where hope. And it's the same word if you watch the movie The Shawshank Redemption, and where he's in prison and he escapes. And at the end, he is asked why. And he only has one word, hope. And hope is a beautiful word about success, and what that means is what we feel inside. And you're so right about that. And that is resilience. Just keep going. So you've heard so many things, and I want to break that down for you, for those of you watching. Is she changed her words? She changed, Kelly changed the way that she imagined her life. She prayed. Now, I'm not saying, if you don't believe in God, please, you don't have to. But but she had faith in something. She had the support. Get support. You can never do anything alone. You have to have support. And then she reframed her thinking when she went to the garage sale, and the woman said something, and it affected Kelly. And that happens. It happens to everyone. But she reframed it. Instead of going in a corner and saying, oh, why me, and this and that. And this is where most of us get stuck. We go down this dungeon of why me. But instead she said, no way, I'm going to turn this around for me. And that's what she did. And that is determination. That is not letting people get to you. That is about moving forward and keeping your power within you. And then in her story, notice how she talks about change. That change is okay. That she went from speaking to writing to now she's painting. So please follow her on Facebook. Kelly, if you want to let people know how to connect with you, please go ahead.
Well, I have a couple websites. So my speaking website is kellyfalardeau.com, and that's where you can find me to get more of my speaking videos and that sort of thing. And then my other website that I have, and there's a free gift for anybody that goes to that one. It's called howtoloveyourself.org. And if you go to that website, then you can get my free ebook, and that is the 7 reasons why women don't love themselves and how to change it. So feel free to go and pick up that free gift. That's a gift that I want to give to everybody, is to learn how to love themselves. So.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story and for being my first guest. I really enjoyed listening to it, and I'm sure that the viewers did as well. And for those of you, again, make sure you join, where's my finger? There you go. Join the Resilience Reflex community, because we've been doing the Resilient Health series of 4 parts. Part 1 is available to the public, but the other 3 are not. You have to join the community. And then make sure you make the Resilience Reflex show with Zaheen Nanji, a daily, well, not a daily habit, but a monthly habit, which is twice a week, the first and last Sunday of the month. And my hunch is that you'll get a lot out of it. So make sure you do that. And again, the next show is March 29th at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'd like to thank again Kelly and Kathy for being with me today. And until next time, all the best.
Bye.